Have you ever looked at your grocery bill or maybe the price at the gas pump and just had that moment of, wait, wasn't this cheaper last year? It really feels like our money just doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Well, guess what? You're not imagining it. And today, we're going to play detective and go on an economic investigation to figure out exactly why that is.
Okay, so let's get right to it. This is the central mystery we're trying to solve. Why does a dollar today seem to have less power, less oomph than a dollar did, say, 5 or 10 years ago? This isn't just a feeling, it's a very real economic phenomenon, and we're about to unmask all the culprits behind it. And here it is, our number one suspect, a word you've probably heard a million times: inflation. It sounds complicated, but at its core, it's pretty simple. Inflation is just a general increase in prices across the economy. And the result? Well, that dollar in your pocket just can't buy as much stuff as it could before. Its purchasing power, it goes down. But here's the thing. Inflation isn't some lone wolf villain. It's more like a conspiracy, with a bunch of different forces all working together. So to really get to the bottom of this, we need a plan, an investigation roadmap that's going to guide us through all the clues. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll check out this thing called the Great Economic Tug of War. Then, we're going to peek under the hood of the global money machine. After that, we'll look at the wild cards, global shocks and even our own fears. And finally, we'll put all the pieces of this puzzle together. First stop on our investigation, let's look inside the economy itself. You can pretty much think of prices as being stuck in the middle of this constant tug of war between two really powerful forces: how much we all want to buy stuff versus how much it actually costs to make all that stuff. So these two forces, they actually have official names: demand pull and cost push inflation. One is all about prices getting pulled up because there are just too many buyers, and the other is about prices being pushed up because production itself is getting more expensive. Let's break them both down.
Okay, so what happens when absolutely everybody wants to buy the same thing, but there just isn't enough of it to go around? That right there is demand pull. Think of it like trying to get tickets to a massive concert or buying the latest smartphone. When demand just skyrockets, maybe because of population growth or people having more income or a big spending boom after a crisis, prices get pulled way up. It's the classic case of too much money chasing too few goods.
Now, let's look at the other side of that rope in our tug of war: cost push inflation. This happens when it just gets more expensive for businesses to make their products. So if wages go up, or the cost of energy, raw materials, and shipping all spike, companies don't really have a choice. They often have to pass those higher costs on to us, the consumers. And that's when the price of everything, from a loaf of bread to a new car, gets pushed up. But wait, it's not just about the stuff we buy and sell. The very nature of money itself plays a huge role in all this. And to understand that, we need to zoom out a bit and look at the whole global money machine and see how its gears are affecting our everyday prices. Now, this is a really fascinating concept. Imagine a central bank basically just increases the money supply. So now there are way more dollars floating around in the economy. But here's the catch. If the amount of stuff to buy hasn't changed, all that extra money just ends up chasing the exact same goods. What does that do? It makes each individual dollar less valuable. And as a result, prices just have to rise. And it also really matters how our currency stacks up against others on the world stage. If the dollar weakens, it takes more of our dollars to buy goods from other countries. Just think about your smartphone for a second. Its parts probably come from all over the world. A weaker dollar means it costs more to import those parts. And guess who that cost gets passed on to? You. People sometimes call this imported inflation. So far, we've looked at the kind of predictable levers of the economy. But the economy has a wild side, right? What about the things we just can't control? Let's move on to our next set of clues: the wild cards. We're talking about sudden shocks, breaks in the supply chain, and even our own human fears, which can totally upend prices. I mean, just take a global pandemic. We all lived through this. Factories shut down, shipping routes got completely snarled up, and all of a sudden, goods that used to be easy to find, from computer chips to lumber, became super scarce. This massive drop in supply, while demand was still pretty high, was just the perfect recipe for prices to soar. And it's a similar story with geopolitical conflicts. A war in a key region can be like throwing a giant wrench into the gears of the global economy. It can disrupt the flow of essential resources like grain or oil, creating immediate shortages. And this doesn't just affect the countries involved. It creates this ripple effect that drives up prices for food and energy for basically everyone, everywhere. And of course, we can never forget the raw power of Mother Nature. A single hurricane, a flood, a drought, it can wipe out an entire harvest of coffee beans or wheat and destroy critical infrastructure in an instant. This leads to immediate shortages and, you guessed it, sharp price spikes for all kinds of things, from our morning cup of coffee to the cost of rebuilding our communities. And this is where things get really wild. It's about psychology. If we all start to believe that prices are going to rise in the future, we actually change our behavior today. Workers will start asking for higher wages to keep up, and businesses might raise their prices now to cover those future costs. And in this really strange twist, the very expectation of inflation can actually help create it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, we've examined all of the clues. We've seen the tug of war between demand and costs. We've looked inside the money machine. We've seen the chaos that global shocks can cause. And we've even looked at the power of our own expectations. Now it's time to connect all the dots and deliver the verdict. So here's the crucial takeaway. There's no single culprit here. It's a combination of all these factors, and a lot of the time, they're all happening at once. Just think about recent years. We saw a perfect storm, massive demand from stimulus money, crashing right into supply chains that were shattered by a pandemic. All of this happened while the money supply was growing, and our collective belief that prices would keep rising helped to lock those increases in. Ultimately, it really all comes down to this core conclusion. The reason prices keep rising isn't some simple mystery with one easy answer. Nope. It's the result of a really complex dance between powerful economic and psychological forces, all pushing in the same direction. And that leaves us with a final, really important question to think about. We've just unpacked the main drivers behind rising prices. So looking ahead, which one of these factors, whether it's supply shocks, the money supply, or our own expectations, which one do you think will have the biggest impact on the economy of tomorrow?